Welcome to another episode of Minnesota Left-Handers Podcast. Despite the PGA Tour not having an elevated event, there's no shortage of drama and storylines. It's Valspar week, it's a LIV Tucson week, and we're 3 weeks from the Masters. We got two governing bodies proposed a rollback of the golf ball. We've got a live one today. Tell us a little bit more, Nate.
I'm fired up today, Brett, about this one. You might say that I'm as fired up about it as a jilted ex-girlfriend, trying to finagle $30 million from the greatest golfer in the world. I think she and I, we got the same level of fired up today. Like you said, we've got the rollback of the golf ball that Justin Thomas gave a lot of opinions on. We'll get to that. We'll get to LIV Tucson. We'll get to Valspar. But first, I think we should talk about Nate's no names. I want your grade from the Players Championship last weekend. Do you remember who I picked?
Victor Hovland, and he was hanging around. He was there.
I think he took third. Is that correct? Or
a good pick.
T4 maybe? Oh no, T3, 10 under par. Granted, 7 back because Scotty Scheffler left the field. But shooting 4 under on Sunday, I feel pretty good about that. I feel pretty good about that pick. I don't know that it's a no-namer. I'm still kind of catching myself on that one. I still don't feel great about you asking me to pick a no-name, and I pick like a top 10 player in the world. But whatever. Still pretty proud of that one. So to see him play well, that was pretty cool. What stuck out for you about the PGA Championship, or not the PGA Championship? What the Players Championship last weekend?
Rahm withdrawn because of sickness. That was kind of a one that I was a little upset about and excited to watch, but it just, I don't know. It was, what was the sickness?
I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things where they've had like 6 or 7, elevated events, which again, they're all required to play in. Aside, they get the one off per year or whatever, but they've all played in a bunch of these. He might just be like, his body might just be like, I'm done. Give me a break. They've got the Dell match play coming up in 2 weeks, and then the Masters. It's probably okay. Like, it is what it is. I mean, it's a bummer, but the guy is on an absolute tear, and probably his body was just like, cut me some slack here.
And it was just Scotty just walking the field and absolutely tearing it up. I mean, it's the same thing that we've seen from last year.
Yeah, he is. It's unreal right now what we're seeing from him. It seems to me that it's like Rahm and Scotty, and then like a mile, and everybody else. I mean, Rory's in that group, Max Homa's in that group, whatever. But those two are light years ahead of everybody else. That's kind of what I see.
Do you still want to talk about this Armour guy?
Oh no, yeah, Ryan Armour. I think Ryan Armour is way more articulate than is James Hahn. Ryan Armour, at least his point, I don't know that I agree with it, but at least his point makes sense. Toward the end of an article here from Outkick, which is, I think that's Clay Travis, right? I think that's his outfit that he built up. He says guys who keep their cards, they're good players, but they're not going to have a chance to play in the playoffs. They're not getting into any of these designated events, but they want those players to be mules for you at all the programs, all the charity visits, and all the hospital visits and sponsor events. We're good enough to do that, but we're not good enough to play in designated events like we did this year. Armour went as far as to say that the players who finished outside the top 75 on the FedEx Cup point list may as well join LIV Golf. Wow.
It's speaking volumes. It's happening.
I mean, I get it, and I like his argument better. At least it makes sense. James Hahn just wanted to say it was BS because he feels like he wants his 50 minutes of fame. That's where I'm at with James Hahn. But at least Armour was like, oh, so I'm good enough to show up to your pro-ams and go to your charity events and, all of that stuff. but I'm not good enough to work my way into the designated events, the elevated events that, again, next year I think are going to have a field of roughly 70 with no cuts and all that. And it appears, given Kurt Kitayama from a couple weeks ago, that you can work your way in, that you can still have success in that. It's just going to be harder and harder to break through.
And now with the elevated events out of the way, we got 3 weeks. We got this week, next week, and the following week, and then we got Masters week.
Correct.
We got the Valspar Championship right now. It's at Copperhead Course, just outside of Tampa. We're still over in the Florida, the East Coast there. Now, what I think, great. Jordan Spieth, JT are going to be there, but I think some of these players, I don't think all the greats are going to take. The top 15 golfers are going to take 3 weeks off before the Masters. I think they're going to sprinkle in through these next 3 tournaments. Do I think JT and Spieth are going to play the next 3 tournaments? No, they're not going to be playing the next 3. But I do think we might see Rory and some of this stuff. You know what I mean? There'll be a few big names. So Scotty might play.
Well, they've got match play in there in a couple weeks where that's the elevated event. So I think it's this week, and then they have elevated event, and then they have Valero, I think is what it is. So they're trying to get a couple of weeks off for sure.
Yeah, I thought for some reason I was thinking it was 3 weeks and then the Masters, and there was no elevated events between this one and the next one. But yeah, if you're saying there's match play in there,
because they also have Punta Cana Corrales, I think, in the Dominican in there. Because I know they swing over to Texas here soon, and we go Punta Cana Corrales, Valero, and then the Masters. But that's not right. Tournament schedule. Yeah, hold on a minute now. March 23rd through the 26th, Punta Cana Corrales, which is after the Valspar, and then 22nd through the 26th. Oh, that's because it's an opposite field. Because the match play is in Austin, Texas, at Austin Country Club, and that's got a purse of $20 million, which means that it's an elevated event.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So they get this week off, unless you're JT and Spieth, who apparently are gonna play until their arms fall off.
They're young, right?
I guess.
Tiger would.
And then they're gonna probably take Valero off, and then dive right into the Masters there, April 6th. Through the 9th. So just kind of go be a warrior out there and play them all. But we're not going to see a lot of those names at Valspar here, which is kind of a bummer for them, but what do you expect?
All right, so I'm going to pull up the rankings here. Where do you think Justin Thomas falls in the rankings?
Well, it's interesting because do you have an updated link? Something has changed since the one that we put on the set list there, because Keegan Bradley has withdrawn, and I think he was number 1.
Yep.
So he's not there. Justin Thomas, I want to say, was like 8th or 9th or something, like way up.
Spieth was 8th, and JT was 4th.
Okay.
So that means we're going to be rooting on Sam Burns, I guess.
I think the deal is he's back to back right now. He's got a chance to three-peat.
I don't see it happening. But I did read an article today of a guy. It was a Minnesota left-handers article today of a guy that was +2 but had a heater going into the weekend. At the Players. And what the heck was his name?
Yeah. Are you talking about Ben Griffin?
Ben Griffin.
What a story, man. Story that can't be told enough.
So let's move on to here too. Oh, first let's talk the scorecard here. Kind of give us a breakdown on the course here.
Right. The thing that stands out the most about this scorecard is 16, 17, and 18. It's a fairly nondescript Florida course otherwise, but 16, 17, and 18 play, I want to say, like a half a stroke over par. The three of them. They call it the Snake Pit because it's the Copperhead Course, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the third hardest closing stretch on tour, excluding the majors, since 2003. That closing stretch of 3 holes, it plays 0.56 strokes over par, you know, on average. So it's a fun little stretch. Do you have the scorecard up?
Yep. So 16 we get a par 4, 17 par 3, 18 par 4.
Okay. And what's the length on the par fours?
Par 4 is the championship, 458, 458, 206, and then 443.
Yeah, it's meaty par fours and a 206 par three. Like it's tough stretch. That's kind of what I'll be tuning in for. To be honest with you, I'm not gonna. This isn't appointment television for me this weekend, especially considering we also have March Madness, which I just dive headfirst into. I love it. So, it's they knew not to put an elevated event on the first weekend of March Madness.
Oh yeah. Who did you pick for?
My Nate's no names.
No, for your bracket.
Oh, for the bracket. Oh, who did I pick?
Alabama, Houston, UConn,
No,
Marquette.
I went Purdue and Houston, and ultimately picked Purdue. So
I haven't seen a
Ten
single
team.
bracket with Purdue yet.
They're not the number one overall team, I don't think,
I don't.
but they were number one in the nation for on and off for a while, and they finished the regular season at number one in the nation. So some like 7'2" center or something, like they're gonna be a force to be reckoned with. We'll have to see, if they can get through it. But of course, the Cinderella story is bound to happen at some point. It always does. So we'll see what happens there.
I got UConn making it.
Did you find Jay
Deep.
Billis?
Pretty.
Did you
Deep.
find Jay Billis? Because he picked it too. 4 seed.
Yeah, I got them going pretty far, but I got Houston, I think, taking the whole thing.
Sure. Not a team that I know much about. I think they had to beat Memphis in their conference championship, and Memphis has always been like the American Conference or something.
Mm-hmm.
And Memphis has always been sort of at the top there. And so Houston and Memphis have been battling it out for the last couple of years.
So let's
It'll
roll.
be good.
Let's roll into your no names for this this tournament here. It better not be anyone inside the power rankings this time either.
It is not. My heart says Zach Blair. Zach Blair is the Buck Club. If you don't know about the Buck Club, you should definitely go and dive into
I'll
it.
have to check that one out.
It's pretty cool. He's got a whole line of. I've got a hat for the Buck Club. It's essentially he's like he's a young guy, probably our age now, who wanted to be like a course architect or whatever, and build a course. And then, as I understand it, he just sort of lost the funding. But people like latched onto him and latched onto the whole thing, and he started like creating hats for this golf course that doesn't exist. Like it's pretty funny, and people have been buying his stuff ever since. And now he actually has something in the works. So I think that would be cool if he could do it, because he hasn't had a ton of success as a player, but he's kind of a cool personality. My head though, sticking with lefty golf. We're going Brian Harmon. Played well here last year. He is not trending right now at all. High finishes, missing cuts. But you know what? We like it. We're giving him a chance. Brian Harmon.
Live Tucson. Last part of the golf stuff. And are we gonna do Nate's no names with LIV Golf?
Oh, I'm ready.
Oh,
I'm ready.
All right, so we got the Gallery Golf Club South Course in Marianna, Arizona.
Yes, just north of Tucson. it held the 2007 and 2008 Accenture match play. What did we say it was next week or 2 weeks from now? The Dell something, whatever it's changed to now. The Dell match play used to be the Accenture match play. It's bracket season. So the PGA Tour did a whole head-to-head match play, whatever, top 64 thing. And they had it at the Gallery course. The Gallery Club. I think they use the same course, '07 and '08. So I've seen it a little bit. I love it. You know how I feel about desert golf. It is my favorite. And so for those reasons, I will be watching LIV Golf this weekend a little bit because I love it out there. Love the Saguaros. Remember the guy who gave us our tour when we were in the side by sides?
Oh yeah.
And I kept thinking it was Saguaro, but he kept calling them Saguaros. So apparently it's Saguaro. How about that bartender who kept calling it Curse too? How about that guy?
You guys want to curse?
Where'd he get those? Ohio. What do you want me to call it? Ohio? No, it's Ohio. Anyway, LIV. I think it's going to be sort of entertaining this week. And, imitation is the purest form of flattery, as they will have a party hole, much like TPC Scottsdale. They think that they're original. They think that they got it going on. They think that they're golf but louder, and here they are copying the PGA Tour.
What do you think the PGA Tour has been doing with all the elevated events and these these cuts and oh my god.
My Nate's no names. I wanted to go more into some stats, into some stuff for LIV Golf, but their stat structure is not built out. The PGA Tour's got strokes gained, this, tee to green, putting, all these stats. LIV does not have that. But for my Nate's no names, I'm prepared for this. We're gonna go head in the heart again. Head in the heart. My heart says David Puig. David Puig, young guy. He's a second year because he was with LIV last year. But he's an Arizona State guy. So he played in Tempe. Obviously, we know where that is. We've spent some time there. It feels like a home game for him. I gotta believe he's played this course. He went to college an hour away, right? I mean, I would think. So my heart says David Puig. My head, Henrik Stenson of Team Majestics. I think is it Team Majestics? What did I put on there?
Yep.
I looked it up. Team Majestics. Like I said, it was played 2007 and 2008 at this course, the Accenture whatever. Won in 2008 by Tiger Woods, but in 2007, Henrik Stenson took away the title. So he's got experience. I think he's going to be all right. Couple of things about the South Course. It is quite long. And basically, don't get in the desert. And if you do, bring your desert club, which we did not have, which we should have had. Because we just ruin our clubs when we try to hit them out of the desert like that, all those rocks and whatever. But keep it in the fairway, I guess, with the South Course, was kind of the takeaway from there. The analysts talked about their picks. And who did they pick? It was Cam Smith, Dustin Johnson, Paul Casey, interestingly enough, was a pick by one of the analysts broadcast team that they had on their website. The first two don't surprise me, but Paul Casey's heading for the LIV Champions Tour, whatever that's going to look like in a few years.
Do you think the new USGA ball rollback rule applies to LIV guys?
No.
Tell me a little bit about it. Tell me a little bit about the new. I know you just blew up over hearing this news.
Don't get me started. No, I don't think it will, because it's a USGA sanctioned events thing, right? So it applies to pros, the pro events, and it applies to elite competition, whatever that means. Does that apply to the Riverwood National PGA or the Riverwood National Club Championship? I don't know. I don't know that they're going to call that elite. I can't say. But, like the state am, for sure USGA sectional qualifying and regional qualifying, those are going to be elite events. They're literally, they have the USGA name to them. So I would imagine that they would be. The effective results of this, there was a whole, the ball can't go this far based on 127 mile an hour swing speed with an 11-degree lofted driver. I think it was, what was it, 317 yards? Is that right?
317.
Yeah. Well, the effective results of this are that the ball's going to be 15 to 20 yards shorter off the tee, I suppose, or with all clubs, I suppose. Why wouldn't it be all clubs? I don't know. I don't love that we have this. They're using the word bifurcation a lot, right? The pros are playing a different game now than the amateurs, and elite level competitors are playing a different game because they have different equipment. You earlier today made a different argument.
Yes. So you had some examples like, oh, well, in football they're throwing the ball and what are some other different examples that you gave? But my thing is this to keep the courses from having to keep on making them longer and longer and longer? I mean, how many times can they relocate their tee boxes for these pros? I mean, you go up to Riverwood, and how far are those tee boxes back on some of those holes? They're like in the woods. Like, you're running out of course here, and the shot out is just so narrow. But it's the equipment that we're using that's getting so much better and better and better. Yeah, I mean, my swing speed is progressively getting better over the years that I've been golfing. I mean, my ball speed's low hundreds. I think last X Golf, our last tournament, I think on a simulator, I was at like 115, 117 ball speed. So, I mean, would I do that with a old Joe or Ben Hogan wooden driver? I don't know. I've never golfed with something like that, but the G435 that just came out and the forgiveness of these clubs and all that fun stuff, I just think it's.
I think you mean forgiveness.
The
forgiveness.
I just think the quality of the equipment is just getting so big. It's like in baseball too. They changed the ball because of how much stronger these guys are getting in the different bats. They're subject to just using a wooden bat, and yeah, I mean it's the equipment's just evolving. I mean,
but we're already accommodating for that. We're already saying play a longer course, go back.
Yeah, but you can't keep on changing the course and keep on moving people back and back and back. You know what I mean?
So thicken up the rough. Penalize.
Yeah, use your example. We're watering the fairways. We're We're playing plugs.
Plug ball nation. That's what this is. You get no rollout on any drivers. With the argument to longer courses, and if you look at a course like St. Andrews, they actually put a tee box what was ultimately out of bounds at one point because they needed the length. They found a spot that was like technically was out of bounds, but they had to go there. The argument is when you lengthen the course, it ruins the design, right? Because the Pete Dye creates a course. He plans for your second shot to come in with a short iron, as far as mounting and bunkering and green and whatever. Well, if you're coming in with a 3-iron now because we lengthen the course so much, that changes the effect of the design, which part of me gets. Justin Thomas spoke today, and he said that the USGA has created a solution to a problem that doesn't exist. He does not feel that we have a problem here. I'd like to bring up two things, and this is something we can definitely continue to discuss because this is not going into effect until 2026. So we've got time. Two things to talk about. One, elite competitions. If you are a 1 handicap and I'm a 1 handicap and we're playing each other in league golf at course X, hometown course X, You like to play in sectional qualifying events and try to qualify for state AMs. We're both good enough to do it, but I just don't have the interest in that. So I'm playing the same ball that I'm playing today, right? The juiced ball, we'll call it. Um, you though are playing a deadened ball because you have to conform to the new USGA rules. Do I have a distinct advantage in our league rounds, or are you going to play the juiced ball, the original ball, in league rounds, and then have to switch back to the dead ball in sectional qualifyings for opens or whatever else you want to try to play in? You know what I mean? It creates and you got to relearn your yardages.
Oh yeah, sticky situation. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
there's that, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, because I don't like that angle. If it was strictly pros, I mean, I don't know. I hear your argument too with there's a reason that the pros use a corked bat, and even up through college they're using not a corked bat,
Aluminum.
wood a wooden bat, and then anything in amateurs is all aluminum bats. But the other thing that I think is interesting is if we deaden this ball, are there courses that used to be on the PGA Tour that the tour has left? They don't go there anymore because the guys just overpower them. You know what I mean? So if you look at Minnesota, Interlaken, which is down in Edina, used to hold more PGA Tour events. Keller in St. Paul held PGA Tour events in the 50s. Woodhill, which is a private club in Wayzata, held PGA Tour events. I think those courses are still too short. I still think even with a deadened ball, they're still hitting it further than they did in the 1950s. But are there courses out there that can re-enter the rotation? You know what I mean? Because we're not overpowering courses anymore. You don't need an 8,000 yard course to just keep up with the pros. I don't know, just an interesting thing to keep track of as we develop here.
And I'm sure more of those questions will be answered as time goes on. So, not to worry, Nate. You will be. I'm trying to think of a big word, but I am just struggling right now.
I will get my answers.
Yes, you'll get your answers. Sure.
It's gonna be, I want to say January 1, 2026. So so much can change. Who knows? Who knows what'll happen with this? It's just one of those things that we don't like change, so we rebel against it, I suppose. But we moved on from, like you said, persimmon woods, where you have to, the whole hit it on the screws phrase. That's where that comes from. Well, we went to aluminum drivers, or now we're on to carbon, whatever. But with that stealth. But the point is, change happens, and I get that. I just don't know that rolling back the equipment is regressing. Doesn't feel like the answer. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how it all pans out.
Well, next week, what do we got? What do we got coming up next week?
Oh, next week, Punta Cana Corrales, and then the match play event. And so that'll be interesting. Scotty, of course, won it in 2022. If you are wondering, geez, who won this course? Who won this event last year? In most cases, it's Scotty Scheffler.
Yeah, this one he went on his tour up to the Masters and won the Masters, and then he just kind of slowed down a little bit after that.
Last spring was Scotty Scheffler's world, and we were all just living in it. And LIV, I think, up against Valero. So we go Valspar, Dell match play, Valero. And while Valero's in Houston with the PGA Tour, LIV is in Orlando. So they got 2 in the next 3 weeks because they wanted to tune up for the Masters as well. And then after that, we all go to the Masters.
I can't wait.
That's
all I got.
It'll be great. Yeah, what are you going to be watching
Valspar
this weekend?
Oh my god, it's just Valspar. It's going to be so epic watching Keegan Bradley. Oh wait, he withdrew. Who the hell am I going to watch now? Oh man. Maybe
I just got to find a way
to get another win. This is the only reason why he's playing this tournament, because the field's a little bit weaker. I don't know. It's going to be interesting, but We'll give you an update of what I watched next week.
I just hope I can weed through Dawson's Creek, Gilmore Girls, and One Tree Hill enough to find this live event, see some saguaros and some desert golf.
All right, we'll catch you guys next time.